Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Jamie. I'm communications manager at Generation 180. We're a national clean energy nonprofit working to inspire and equip people to take action on clean energy in their homes and in their communities. I'm really excited to learn more about your role in the groundbreaking climate lawsuit underway, Held versus Montana. This case is unique because while thousands of climate change related cases have been filed, this is the first time youth activists like you got their day in court. Going to trial means the plaintiffs have been able to establish in the public record evidence about the causes and effects of climate change. You're one of 16 young Montanans who argue that their state's support of fossil fuels violates the state constitution, specifically that it failed to live up to its constitutional mandate to, I quote, maintain and improve a clean and healthful environment in Montana for present and future generations. I'm so excited to learn more about your role, and I'd love to kick things off a bit more broadly. So, what sparked your interest in climate change and climate activism?
Well, from a young age, I kind of had an understanding that climate change was this great burden on our world and that it was like something that was just rapidly going to worsen over time. I think as I became older and older as a kid, I started to experience firsthand a lot more of what was happening in the world around me. And I noticed wildfire smoke and flooding and all sorts of other impacts caused by climate change. And I think all of that led me to take action because I was scared and I was really worried about my future.
That's great. So, how did you get involved with the climate trial specifically, and why do you think it's important that the plaintiffs were all children and youth activists like yourself?
Well, I originally got involved with our Children's Trust back in early 2020. My mom had seen like their call out through her work. She works for a local nonprofit organization based out of my hometown, and she offered this opportunity to me and said, "Would you be interested in doing this?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And that's kind of how I ended up getting involved with our Children's Trust and eventually the trial. And what was the last part of your question again?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I threw two at you at once. Why do you think it's important that the plaintiffs were all young children and young adults like yourself?
It's really important because a lot of us don't have the right to vote. So taking to the courts is kind of a way that we can channel our youth voices. And I think, yeah, that's kind of why it's really important that this whole entire case is happening.
Definitely couldn't agree more. Could you share something that you learned by preparing and or going to trial?
I think one of the biggest things I learned is that I can use my voice as a platform. I think for a long time I was very shy about my voice and wasn't really sure if I could be heard. But I think this case has really showed just how much our youth voices matter and how much they have, how much sway they have over what happens in the future.
Wow, what a great opportunity to find your voice and gain confidence in using it in such an impactful way. What do you hope will come out of this legal challenge? And if you are successful, what do you expect will change in your home state?
I don't know exactly what will change right away. I'm really optimistic about the case. I'm super hopeful. I thought we did really amazing at trial, and I'm just very optimistic, but I don't really have a very huge sense of what it's going to look like afterwards.
That's great. I read a lot of articles and things after trial, and I'm equally optimistic about the outcome. Do you have any advice for other young people who want to get involved in climate action?
I would say starting out kind of locally. I mean, see what's happening in your school if they're doing anything, and maybe talking to city officials, writing a letter to the editor, doing small little things sort of to start with, just to kind of get the conversation going if it isn't already. I know living in a rural community can make that a lot more difficult, but you just kind of have to have, it does require like some courage and some bravery. You do have to kind of put yourself out there in a way, but there are a lot of different ways that you can start just within your community.
That's great. We're all about starting local, especially for students and parents. One of our campaigns is a Solar for All Schools campaign, helping move the needle in clean energy adoption at schools. And we have a campaign toolkit so other youth and children like yourself can start to advocate for clean energy. And one of the other plaintiffs and friends of yours, I hope, as it's evolved, Claire, we spotlighted her back in her initial climate journey, bringing solar to her school. So local climate action is a great way to start. And I'm curious if you have any favorite podcasts, newsletters, book recommendations related to climate action that you'd recommend to someone listening in.
Gosh, that's a hard one. I can't think of any books off the top of my head, but I know that I think it's the 5th season of a podcast called Seen on Radio. They have a really great season all about climate change. If I remember correctly, it's like a timeline, I think, of climate change.
Nice. I'll have to check that out. What are your future plans, and will climate be a focus of your college studies or future endeavors?
I mean, I'm not entirely sure what my future is going to look like yet. I'm kind of one of those people who's just sort of unsure about their future, and we'll kind of figure it out along the way. But yes, I think this trial in this case has really impacted me and really makes me want to lean more towards the activism side and have a deeper understanding of the sciences behind climate change as well. So I think I do want to pursue it further in my future, but I'm not entirely sure how it's going to play out yet.
That's great. And that's a great place to be, not knowing and seeing how it unfolds. Last question, and my favorite question to ask in our interviews. What gives you hope about our clean energy future?
Well, it makes me really hopeful to think about like a totally stable future with completely renewable energy. Like the idea of that just sounds like fantastical, right? But I think what gives me a lot of hope right now is the fact that converting to all renewable energy is a completely feasible option. It's honestly a lot better of a solution than continuing to move forward with the fossil fuel industry. So I think that gives me hope that there's just so much technology and just so much that we can implement in place that's just, it'll be so much better for our future.